Hey friends, Jennifer here. So the Philippine government has approved some programs to attract more international travelers or tourists in the country. And the very latest one is the approval or the authorization of the digital nomad visa. It's not new, we're not surprised. We've been talking about this for the past 2 to 3 years. And last April 24, the president signed Executive Order number 86. So the DFA, the Department of Foreign Affairs, is hereby authorized to issue digital nomad visa to non-immigrant foreigners who desire to enter or stay in the Philippines. Okay. And what are the conditions to apply for this visa? Now, I know a lot of you are on tourist visa. Could this be something that, you could apply, instead of being on a tourist visa and extending your stay every 2 months? Maybe this is a more stable option or a cheaper option. Let's have a look. Okay, what are the conditions to apply for this visa? We'll call it the DNV, Digital Nomad Visa. Okay, you must be 18. You must show proof of remote work using digital technology. So you must have a job. You know how many jobs now you can be anywhere in the world. It's just on your computer. So you must have a remote work. You must have or show proof sufficient income, which is generated outside the Philippines. It doesn't say payslip, but I'm assuming this income is connected to your remote work. It doesn't say how much. Must show proof of no criminal record, so police report is a likely requirement. Must have health insurance, okay. Must be a national of a country that offers this visa to Filipinos, where the Philippines has a foreign service post or a Philippine embassy or consulate. Must not pose threat to the Philippines, must not be employed in the Philippines, okay. And how long will this visa be valid for? Maximum of 1 year, but they may renew it for the same duration, and it may grant multiple entry privileges. That's mostly the highlights. I think the biggest one is one where they require that the applicant's country must offer the same visa to Filipinos. Now, a lot of you are from the US, Canada, Australia, UK. Well, these countries, they do not offer digital nomad visas. Or not to Filipinos, or they just don't offer that visa. So it means if you are a national of those countries I mentioned, it's highly likely you cannot apply for this digital nomad visa. Unless they change that condition or make a special condition. But yeah, for right now, as we can see it would not apply to a lot of you. For now, we don't really know the details because they're not issuing these visas yet. They're still going to issue guidelines. In 1 to 2 months, we'll hear more. How much is this visa? Well, Jennifer, there's always a tourist visa, right? Yeah, that's what people do. They just come here on a tourist, they stay on a tourist, they work remote. The Philippine government, most of the time, majority of the time, do not really care if you're working for a foreign company, as long as it's not a Filipino company. That's just my observation, and a lot of you can agree. Moving on, another program the Philippines recently approved to attract foreign tourists is the VAT refund program.
We are introducing the VAT refund program for non-resident tourists. Under this program, tourists can claim a refund on the VAT for goods personally purchased at accredited retail outlets, provided these goods are taken out of the country within 60 days and meet a minimum transaction requirement of 3,000 pesos. The economic impact of this measure is projected to be substantial, estimating an almost 30% increase in tourist spending.
How do we claim this refund, Jennifer? The VAT in the Philippines is 12%, so it's a good refund if you get it. We don't have the details yet. We can't go to the airport and get your refund as of now. The Department of Finance are meant to engage with a VAT refund operator. They're not at the airports yet. So just like the digital nomad visa, still on a waiting game, we're still waiting for guidelines. The Philippine government is putting some efforts to attract tourists, maybe because our tourism numbers is not so good. For the first quarter of this year, we received less 0.6% tourists, while some countries are doing well, like Japanese tourists, Canadian tourists, Australian tourists. There's a growth, a double-digit growth, but when it comes to Chinese, South Koreans, and UK, there is a significant drop of tourists from those countries. Some may be out of our control, like in South Korea, their currency has dropped its value, so you could understand why less South Koreans are traveling. But for Chinese, they're still traveling, but just not in the Philippines. Not many in the Philippines, not like they used to. Could be politics, could be safety, you don't know. There is also a hesitation among Filipino Americans and other US-based residents to visit the Philippines, especially those holding a visa. As you know from the news, US immigration has really tightened. Some of our fellow kababayans, I've received some messages saying they're going to postpone their trip just because of the uncertainty around immigration enforcement in the US. There was a news a few months ago about a Filipino who is a permanent resident in the US. She vacationed in the Philippines, and then upon returning to the US, she was detained. And then her lawyer said it may be about her previous embezzlement conviction. If you don't really have a criminal conviction, I don't think you should be worried, but that's, I think. And speaking of Filipino Americans, I also received a few messages from you guys saying, "Oh, Jennifer, the Filipinos will be visa-free entry to the US." Oh, really? Well, I did some digging, and apparently, after Donald Trump's inauguration on January 2025, there was a video circulating online on social media, on TikTok, on YouTube, falsely claiming that the US president said Washington would include citizens of the Philippines in its Visa-Waiver program, visa-free entry. But the official inauguration video shows Trump made no such remark, and the US Embassy in Manila told media that that claim is false. No, the US is not going to include Philippines in its visa-free program or visa-waiver program. This was also clarified by the spokesperson of the US Embassy in Manila. There is no change. Okay, non-immigrant visa requirements for Filipino nationals, including application fees, remain unchanged. Anyways, going back to Philippine tourism, stakeholders like hotels, airlines, resorts are telling the Philippine government that if you want to attract more tourists, you should do the following. First is offering longer visa-free stays. Okay, we do have the 30 days, right, visa upon arrival. And then if you want to stay longer than that, you have to apply with the immigration. We do have the online system, although they've made changes on that. I really think it was such a good idea to allow tourists to extend their visas or their tourist visas online. Philippines just suddenly decided to make that hard. We should make it easy to extend tourist visas. Even just for the first, 3 months. Allow it online. Right now, if you want to stay for 3 months in the Philippines, you would be spending more than 10,000 pesos on immigration fees. I know some tourists would intentionally make their stay less than 30 days just so they won't have to deal with Philippine immigration. But if we allow online extension, if we make that easy and very welcoming, I don't think those tourists would be worried about dealing with immigration, especially if it's all online. But beyond promotions and, entry requirements, making it easy, one thing that we should do is to clean up our airports. And right now, if you've heard in the news, there are so many issues about scams. And then recently, that vehicle incident where 2 people lost their lives. Corruption. That's one thing. We should not have that in our airports. Tourists need to feel safe. They're not going to countries where they're not respected or where they don't feel safe. We need to keep our airports really safe, free of corruption. That's the best tourism promotion ever. And not just for tourists, but for our own people. So what do you guys think? What should the Philippines do to improve its tourism sector?